I don't believe there is much to talk about Dragon's Crown that hasn't been said before. Being a 12-year-old game, you can find plenty of videos discussing the gameplay, the graphics, the soundtrack, and of course, the controversy around the game. You can also find plenty of videos telling you how good or bad the person thinks this game is, and at this point making a traditional review about it would be pointless. But I would like to talk a little, actually a lot, about my experience with Dragon's Crown, add my 2 cents to this decade-old conversation, telling why I believe this is probably one of the best beaten-ups ever made and why I think the genre is still stuck in old conventions for not learning from this game. Hello and welcome my friends to The Flying Kick, I am Savino, and today we have a long video ahead of us. So sit comfortably, grab a snack and a drink, and let's dive head on into this incredible game.
These flavors pair well.
When I first played Dragon's Crown way back in 2013, the game didn't impress me. I mean, the beautiful art style, one of Vanillaware's hallmarks, surely grabbed my attention. Still, for some reason I can't really recall after so much time, the game didn't stick with me and I ended up dropping it after a week or so, at least according to my trophy history here. I only came back to this game in 2023 more out of curiosity than anything else, since I was playing a ton of Dungeons & Dragons. My Vita was also being pretty neglected at the time, so I gave it a go and, well, 2 years later, I can't stop playing it. The first thing you may notice in Dragon's Crown is that, despite being a story-heavy game, it has no proper introduction. And right here is where I think Dragon's Crown starts to set itself apart from other games. While in most games the intro will tell almost everything you need about the world you're about to enter, be it with a wall of text, be it with some nicely done storyboards, here you get nothing. I mean, at least nothing relevant to the story. The intro is a mix of panels from the game along with small clips showing close-ups of the heroes, all displayed under menacing orchestral music. The result is that you will only get the sense that things are about to go very, very bad. Even after pressing start and entering the game, it will take a while for you to learn what's going on. The 6 available characters in the best D&D fashion have no backstory whatsoever, leaving it to the player to fill their pasts with tales of adventures and conquest. While this can be a bit odd, if you ever played a D&D tabletop game, you know creating your character's backstory is part of the fun, and being in essence a D&D game, Dragon's Crown will ask you to do that.
You were an adventurer, just starting out, and didn't know right from left. It was then that you first met.
But it's not that sets Dragon's Crown apart when it comes to storytelling, but the narrator.
Lucane was quite worried about your safety, and flashes a relieved smile when he sees you return. You give him the 2 black runestones you found.
While having a narrator is not anything special, here he works exactly as a DM would. He will tell bits about the world around you, describing what you need to do at some moments and delightfully dubbing all lines the NPCs will deliver to you.
First, you must go to the castle and ask King Dean to write an official letter asking for the Hermit's cooperation.
The narrator also adds some graveness and urgency to the quests, often after you enter a level, reminding you of what's coming ahead.
The warlock has begun a high-level incantation. Beware.
Another welcoming trait the narrator has is that he never speaks too much when you're out and about on your adventures. He will basically say a line or 2 at the beginning of the level, but he will not keep chatting about everything you do. He will reserve himself for more important and urgent bits. But no matter how interesting and respectful the narrator is, he wouldn't mean much if he didn't have a good tale to tell, and in Dragon's Crown the story is excellent. The main quest is pretty straightforward. You have to collect some magic talismans to open a portal and destroy the ancient dragon before he gets strong enough to do the same to your world. And this world, Heideland, can go as deep as you want. Every obligatory bit of story can't be skipped, although I don't recommend you to do that on your first go. If you want, you can also learn a lot of the lore by doing side quests and checking the panels you get as part of your rewards, which will deliver deeper insights about what you just did. Some of these panels can have depressing conclusions, and reading each one of them was a great read, which made me love this game even more. The story can also get very dark at some points, with moments of self-sacrifice, treason, kidnapping, coup d'etat, murder attempt, and so on. There are some cool moments here which, in my opinion, are very well constructed and can surprise you in some bits with unexpected turns. The best part is that all of this is delivered with mastery by the vanilla narrator. Yes, I said vanilla. Besides the narrator, who will greet you the first time you enter the game, you can also purchase new narrators, voiced by the actors who played the main characters. There are some caveats to it though. You can only buy the voice of the character you use to beat the game, and it costs a lot of money. I will talk about them a little bit ahead, but by now, you should know that they can change the tone of the game thanks to the way each one delivers their lines. Dragon's Crown is a game that goes far with its story. The game has a rich world with a rich lore that invites you to stay and explore to learn every bit offered to you. This is clearly a work of passion from someone who put a lot of thought when creating this world, and from someone who wanted this world to stay with you long before you left it. But it's not only the story that will remain with you. Dragon's Crown is more than anything a work of art. Returning to the intro, you can see how striking all this imagery is. From the scenarios filled with details passing through the imposing characters looking down at you, to these mysterious and unsettling statues that seem to be waiting to come to life just to end yours. After that, you'll be hailed by a weird bunch sitting around a table in a dark corner of a dirty tavern composed of the characters you can pick to play. If you take a moment to appreciate this scene, you can imagine already how they interact among themselves, with the wizard being the bearer of knowledge, the fighter always ready to protect his friends, and the dwarf simply not caring about anything other than his drinks and food. All this happens while the sorcerer offers her crystal ball to assist the wizard, the Amazon listens interested, and the elf looks bored for not being in the woods doing something else. At least that's how I see, and I'm sure each one of you will build your own story for these guys. And that's something that will help throughout the whole game if you care to stop and look at all the details your surroundings will offer in the most spectacular manner. You see, I don't consider this game a work of art for nothing. I truly believe that this game is the most beautiful beaten up ever made, and it will likely stay that way until someone has the guts of George Kamitani to make something that bold. After leaving the tavern with your first character, you will be met by this. Are you seeing this? This is all in 2D, there are no 3D objects on the backgrounds here. Look at this pillar in the first plane, or how this hall gives you a fantastic impression of death. And not only that, the backgrounds here are more than simply beautiful pieces of art. They are also part of this tale, and in a few instances you'll be able to see part of the story taking place on them, or even get some foreshadowing of what will soon take place. Even in places like are usually boring, like inside dungeons made out of stone walls, the artists here managed to pull some gorgeous views thanks to some well-placed details. It's really a game to appreciate if you consider games a form of art, and if you don't, well, here's a perfect game to make you think otherwise. And of course, not only the backgrounds are exquisite, but also the characters, enemies and NPCs. Actually, I love how when in Tau, a few NPCs are walking around, doing their thing, taking care of their lives, and I love even more how these otherwise useless characters have a lot to them. Look how this little guy carries this bottle of wine, which happens to be as big as him, or how this man will collect his knocked apples if you accidentally or not hit him with one of your moves. Only 3 NPCs are walking around the town, and while I wish there were more, I am certain they would get a lot in your way when trying your new moves, and the consequences for that can be a bit annoying. But yeah, it's not like you would be spending your days looking at them here. And sure, if there are that many detail and life to simple NPCs, it is expected that the main characters and enemies would get the same treatment. And my friend, you won't be disappointed. Your characters are a beautiful bunch, made with love and care. Each one of them has a lot of details that you can lose a good time listing. You can see how the fighter's armor is carved with details, or how you can see each one of the hinges that allow him to move, or how the Amazon, despite having no armor, has a nice block of metal in front of her boots, which must hurt since kicking is one of her favorite moves. It's this kind of detail of purpose that makes me consider this game one of the most magnificent games ever made, if not the most. And when you add all of this to the silk smooth animation the artists made for this game, then things really become glorious. The way your characters move in this game is simply marvelous. They have the precise amount of frames to make the animation feel fluid and responsive without losing its weight when you're hitting your enemies. There are small details everywhere, from the way the sorcerer twitches her wrist with every step she takes, or how her dress keeps hitting her leg. I also love this small glimpse of light you can notice on the Amazon weapons, or how the fighter's shoulder pads keep flapping following each one of his movements. There are so many small details like this here that we could go on and on numbering them, but let's take a look at the enemies, which are, as you may imagine, also fantastic. It goes without saying that most of the enemies here are blatantly inspired by the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and there is no surprise to this fact. The director and artist George Kamitani worked on both Dungeons & Dragons released by Capcom in the 90s and clearly became a fan of this universe. Sure, Wizards of the Coast doesn't own the concept of a red dragon, and owl and bear are not 2 words you can easily copyright, but some enemies get very close to copyright infringement. The gazer here knows what I'm talking about. But despite that, the enemies here are as impressive as the playable characters. The level of detail each one of them has, their animations, it's all amazing. I will be the first to admit that, amidst the chaos that will take place in each and every scene, it will be hard for you to appreciate all the details the enemies' animations have, but even so, they are there and look great. Even small enemies like the scorpions have some nice animations, opening their claws and readying their sting to attack you, or how the heavier enemies will slide a little bit before coming to a halt thanks to their massive weight and inertia. Even the small flames that come from the eyes of the hellhounds are very well animated for their size. It's incredible how detailed the small mushrooms are, twitching around trying to reach their maximum size, the dark mages waving their hands while trying to evoke some dark magic, not to mention the gnomes, which are beautiful and very entertaining to watch. We still have to talk about the bosses, which are massive and, like all the rest of the game, are also beautiful. Some of them, like the Red Dragon, the Medusa or the Cyclops, can take the whole screen, and while their animation looks a little stiffer than the rest, it still gives you a huge sense of scale and weight, which these bosses deserve. We will talk more about them a little later. I can only imagine how nightmarish it was to animate all these characters, not to mention the insane cost, but as we will see ahead, it really paid off. The bottom line is, this game is breathtaking. Easily the best looking game up to this day, and I doubt we will see something this good in this genre anytime soon. And sure, not everything here is roses, and I have to address the elephant in the room, the controversy over the art. And let's face it, there are some good points here. Seeing what they did to some of the characters, exaggerating their features to an impossible point just to make them sexy and satisfy the lust of some people, I mean, take a look at Roland and tell me if I'm wrong. This hot piece of barbarian ass. But let's be serious for a moment. I never understood this controversy and I think it's so dumb. Yes, characters are sexualized in this game. A bunch of them. The sorcerer, the Amazon, the dwarf, Roland, the vampires, and there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, I personally don't care about this stuff. It doesn't make the game better or worse in my opinion, but making a fuss because the sorcerer's breast move when she walks is closing your eyes to all the rest here. Everybody in this world is freaking hot. I mean, I know people who would that Minotaur without even thinking about it. You may argue that yes, these actually look like characters designed by a 14-year-old horny kid, and I ask you, so what? What are you? An octogenarian grumpy man who hates everything that does not suit your taste? A 14-year-old kid. The most talented 14-year-old kid in history, you mean, right? If you really care about art, if you really consider games art, you would never say such a stupid thing. It's like saying Tarantino is infantile because he doesn't hide his preferences. Dragon's Crown also has a 2-issue manga that is pretty cool. Each one has around 200 pages and you can see for yourself how beautiful the art is. I mean, it follows Kamitani's art and it was drawn by Yustan, another pen name from Zunta, a very famous hentai artist. And while the manga has nothing too explicit, this isn't something I recommend you to read on the bus or in a public space. The story follows the same plot as the game, where you have to recover the 9 talismans to defeat the ancient dragon, but there are some changes to keep the story more dynamic for the reader. I enjoyed the manga, and they are nice complementary material for the game, but if you look at them alone in a vacuum, there are better ones. However, I recommend checking it out if this interests you. I believe you can find it on Amazon or someplace like it for around $12 each. Okay, now that I talk about these 2 off-topic points, let's talk about why I think Dragon's Crown has an astonishing soundtrack that really makes a difference in the game, and how the sound here went beyond everything that came before and after. Right from the start, Dragon's Crown is a game that hits hard, very hard. The intro theme starts with some awesome drums, with something military chant, just to be followed by the sound of an orchestra mostly made out of metals, going to a crescendo that sets perfectly the mood for what you're about to face. There is a richness to every composition here that you don't see very often in games, even today. Sure, games with different themes would require different styles of music, and I don't think orchestral tunes would work with Streets of Rage, but here, more than beautifully composed and masterfully arranged, the music also complements the levels you play in the game. If you pay attention in places like Bilberon's subterranean fortress, you can hear random notes playing as if they were droplets of water falling from a ceiling, and how it will slowly add more and more instruments with sounds no different from creaking doors or distant screams, creating a breathtaking atmosphere of mystery and dread. Or how, when playing the Ghost Ship Cove, the music sounds more adventurous, with some hints of an Eastern inspiration, just to become a giant opera piece where drums take the front seat like it was part of a war at the high seas. Actually, this is something that will be common in many of the songs here. It's not uncommon to have a calm and soothing piece to have itself change into some powerful tune, with drums and metals desperately trying to warn you about the dangers lurking ahead. As I said, the music in this game does way more than simply fill your ears with musical notes. It's not simply good music. It has a purpose. It helps to sell the story and sell the feeling that the developers wanted you to feel in those places. It's beautiful. And even if you turn the music off, I don't know why you would do that, but let's say you do, you won't be disappointed. Dragon's Crown is one of the rare instances where you actually have ambient sound in the levels. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that, but as a rule of thumb, beat-em-ups don't have ambient sounds. Most games around have at best one or two instances in a level where you can hear something other than your punches, enemy screams, and music. Here, all levels are rich in ambient sounds, from the winds crossing the fields and forests to the birds chirping from the trees in the town. Every place you go, if you stop and listen, you will find something. What impressed me the most was that Vanillaware didn't need to go this extra mile when creating the game. Let's face it, ambient sounds in beat-em-ups will be always little appreciated, if at all. Under all the music, all the screams, all the punching, hearing something like the wind blowing in the trees above your head is not something the player will pay attention to. So much so that I probably watch and read all the reviews about this game and no one ever mentioned this. And yet, Vanillaware did it anyway. They made it because they wanted to, because that would make their game feel complete, and because they knew somewhere someone would appreciate the effort. Dragon's Crown is a game that should come with those warnings, better played with headphones, because by only wearing headphones you will be able to appreciate how gorgeous the sound work here is. There are also the sounds of your characters moving around and how you can hear their clothes flapping around when they wear any, And you still have the amazing sounds of your weapons cutting the air and cutting the flesh of your enemies, the sound of fire and thunder of your magic spells echoing among the walls of vast rooms made out of stone. It's fantastic. But yeah, I agree, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, and with all the sounds coming from all the places at once, your ears might be hailed by a cacophony of sounds that honestly may not be the most pleasant experience, but not that different of what would really take place if this was happening to you in real life. Earlier, you can get new voices to narrate your adventures, and they will vary in quality. Narration is a very specific skill when it comes to voice work, and it's pretty different from interpreting a character. While I think all the voices here fit perfectly well to their respective owners, I don't think all of them are suited to narration. Of course, this is highly subjective, and each one will have their favorite voice in the game, but I like to stick with the vanilla one. But there's a catch. Each voice will cost you around 1 million gold coins, which is a lot, believe me, and you can only buy the voice of the character you just beat the game. If you're playing the Pro version, which was released in 2018, you don't have to deal with any of that since the voices are free to pick as soon as you start the game. I will let each character narrate a bit here so you can decide for yourself.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
She appears calm on the outside, but it is apparent to all that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Aside from that, you also get a few lines from NPCs, but they will not speak much since the narrator will do most of the heavy lifting, as I mentioned. Your enemies also have some lines, and while they are nothing special or even varied for that matter, they will perfectly blend with other sounds from the game, working as a perfect warning about what the enemies are about to do. The sound and music of Dragon's Crown, as stated plenty of times in this review, are more than simply assets put in the game to fill a hole. They are embedded in the experience, dragging the player even deeper inside this world. Now, I believe Dragon's Crown took a lot of steps forward when it comes to its presentation, but if there was one point that I think it surpassed itself, it was the gameplay and combat. Let's talk first about the gameplay, because there are a few things I want to address here. I truly believe that calling Dragon's Crown a beaten up would be a disservice. The game has a lot more to it than your typical beaten up, but I also believe that calling this game an action RPG is neglecting all the depth the combat in this game has. This is not Diablo, but this is not Final Fight either. Dragon's Crown is its own beast. It's a mix of styles so well made that it's hard to really point out what the game is. While you have all the RPG stuff here like leveling, gears, magic and potions, you also have one of the most refined and fun combats I ever tried. Right from the start you have 6 characters to pick. The characters have the usual traits you would expect from an RPG game like strength, dexterity, endurance, etc. and also a small recommendation on the bottom telling you what type of player you must be to play with that character. As you can see, the fighter is recommended to everyone, while the sorcerer is only recommended to expert players, but after hundreds of hours playing this game, I came to the conclusion that this is a bit misleading. While one may think that you must be a normal beaten-up player to play with the dwarf or a Diablo expert to play with the wizard, the truth is these warnings are talking about the game itself. Dragon's Crown has so many mechanics to learn and such a diverse group of characters that you really must understand what the game wants from you. Mastering all these things is the only way to excel with this character, especially if you are willing to go the extra mile to try the game's true ending. One thing that Dragon's Crown does exceptionally right is offering the player a very diverse cast of characters to choose from. Each one of them comes with 2 sets of skills, a normal skill tree which controls upgrades that are common to all characters like the amount of health, how much of your health is replenished by food, how many dodges you can perform in sequence, etc. The other one is your hero skill tree, which will have only specific powers for the character you're playing, and there are a lot of them. Some of these skills can be upgraded up to 10 times, making your character pretty unique when it comes to confronting your enemies. You can get as offensive or defensive as you'd like, adding points to the skills that suit your style best, so even 2 elves can be very different from each other on the same level. I know not every game has a reason to make a skill tree so diverse as this one, but this is one more thing that sets this game apart from the others. Dragon's Crown is also a very big game, and one that can even go on forever if that's something you want. To beat the game, you have to play all 9 levels twice. But that's not as boring as it may sound. After beating the 9 levels once, a new path will open inside each one of the levels, taking you to a harder route and facing new and more dangerous bosses. This is a pretty cool way to extend the game, making only 50% more work and saving some very needed budget. Instead of creating 18 levels, they created 9 second acts for each one of them, and it works pretty well here. As you advance in the level, you will be interrupted by an NPC and you will be able to choose which route you want to take. But don't think that after earning the right to go through the second route, you will never return to the first one. There will be a few side quests that will take you to the first route again, so these levels are not going to be wasted. Dragon's Crown, as I said, has also an infinite mode. It actually has 2. The Tower of Mirage and the Labyrinth of Chaos. In both modes you will be climbing a virtually infinite tower facing increasingly difficult enemies. What is interesting here is that everything is randomized, enemy waves will never repeat and even the rooms you visit will be changing their order of appearance. The difference between those 2 modes is that in one you have to play through 3 levels at once, while in the other is just one incredibly hard level. These modes are obviously for the fanatics who can't have enough of this game, but they also will unlock a ton of new things that you won't see in the regular game. Enemies get way harder, items you find can increase your skills immensely and even add new elemental effects to them, making your character even more powerful. It's unique how the game not only keeps introducing new challenges but also unexpected ways to deal with those challenges. Let's not forget that you can face all these challenges with the help of 3 other friends locally and online. But the cherry on top of this impossible cake is the crossplay between PS4, PS3 and PS Vita. I mean, this is not something you see every day and another proof of Vanillaware's technical prowess. What is even better is that you can still find people online without too many problems. But in case you can't find anyone to play with, you still don't need to play alone. During your adventures, you will find piles of bones around that you can collect and bring back to the town to be buried or resurrected. If you choose the latter, the resurrected hero will be available to join you. I mentioned gear a lot of times in this text, so I think it's a good moment to talk about it. Like every action RPG worth its name, Dragon's Crown has a lot of items. From items that each character can use like rings, amulets, potions and spells to class-specific items like bows, swords, hammers or rods. Each one of these will add bonuses to your character's attributes. Here it's not a simple matter of numbers go up, good. You have to think about what you really want from your character and how each particular piece of gear can help you to achieve that. In a lot of moments you will find gear that is levels higher than yours, but in the end it will make your character weaker because it will reduce attributes that you deem necessary for your playstyle. Some characters like the sorcerer or the wizard can have their basic attack changed depending on the gear you are wearing, changing how you face some of the enemies. Toying around with the many gears you find, and trust me, there's a lot. It's pretty fun and something that I spent so many hours on. And how you get these items is very well thought out. Instead of halting the combat so you can take a look at what you just got, the game simply announces it has some loot to reveal to you when you return to town. More than that, you need to appraise those items before using them, so everything you earn in a mission can only be used in the next one. This keeps the game's flow intact so you can focus on what you're currently doing instead of stopping every 3 minutes to check your inventory. Which, if you stop and think about it for 2 seconds, you will realize this would be a curse in multiplayer. And you won't be able to buy any gear in this game. All gear must be found in the levels by opening chests with the help of your rogue companion. He will also open doors that can lead to secret rooms, which can grant you some of the best gear around. But it's here where I believe lies one of the worst mechanics in this game. To open a chest or a door, you must move the cursor over it and press L. While this might not be a huge deal, when you realize that you must do the same in every scene to find treasures, which will count as experience points, hence vital for your progress, things starts to get annoying. More than that, the game also uses a rune word system where you have to click on some carvings on the wall and form a word with the runes you want. These rune words can grant you some nice bonuses for a brief moment, but activating them with your cursor can be pretty frustrating. While I praise the devs for not interrupting the combat with items popping up every second, you will have to stop in every scene looking for small glimpses of light and slowly move your cursor with your right stick and hover over it. You can easily do this on the Vita or if you have a PlayStation Move, but otherwise it's slow, boring and unnecessary. I would rather press a button with my character near the item location to uncover the secret, but still the best way to do this is by putting these treasures inside barrels, crates and enemies. When it comes to the combat, well, Dragon's Crown doesn't disappoint. I mean, after so many praises to everything so far, it would be a bit weird if I get here and say, yeah, it's mid. So yeah, the combat in this game is excellent. I could go on and on saying praises about how good the feel of the combat is with some excellent hit stunts, or I could start saying only good things about how the AI is varied, fitting perfectly to each enemy in this game, but what really set this game apart for me is how versatile the characters can be. While in most beaten ups you have the traditional stereotypes firmly established, Here in Dragon's Crown, they simply blend many different styles in one character, making each one of them especially unique. The fighter, for example, can be taken as the all-rounder of the bunch, but he is one of the most resilient, capable of calling enemies in his direction and holding the line with his shield like a tank. The dwarf, which at first could be called a grappler, can move at incredible speeds when in the air or dodging around. His aerial attacks are very powerful and can be as deadly as his hammers. Even the tiny elf, which is perfect for dealing damage at a distance, can become a fearsome hand-to-hand combatant if you pick the right skills and gear. Her speed is unmatched and your enemies will have no idea what hit them. The sorcerer, who is mostly a support character, can become a powerful force with her magic or with her army of powerful skeletons that can do the dirty job for you. This versatility is something that I really love in this game. You can change at will how you face your enemies, and in a lot of moments you need to change your style to better face this or that enemy. This increases the game replayability a lot because not only do you have 6 unique characters to play as, but they also can become something entirely different from what you planned once you unlock a new skill or find a new use for an old one. Starting a new game in Dragon's Crown is not knowing where you will end up, and I love that. Aside from being extremely versatile, the characters have a type of synesthesia rarely seen in games. Playing this game with friends who understand the role of each character can be one of the best experiences ever. For you, not for your enemies. A good and well-tuned team can mow down any group of enemies here, and trust me, it is extremely rewarding when you find such a group. Honestly, even when the group is completely random with each one looking only after themselves, this game can be extremely fun. I had runs where I stopped playing and just stared at my screen in awe because I had no idea what was going on amidst 3 sorcerers constantly spawning hurricanes. And this is all enhanced with some very nice enemies. Dragon's Crown has a varied cast of enemies and their intelligence will vary accordingly. Some beasts like owlbears and zombies will attack you at sight, going straight at you without much regard for their safety, while others like these goblins can be very smart, trying to surround you, look for weapons on the floor to attack you, and put you in some dire situations thanks to their vast numbers and different classes. Evil knights will defend themselves and even use some magic spells against you when you least expect it. It's in no way a revolutionary AI, but it's good enough to trick you and catch you off guard. And you also need to consider raw numbers, which is something the game doesn't shy from. Dragon's Crown is pretty happy throwing at you dozens of enemies coming from all directions, crowding the screen, drowning you and your party in a myriad of special effects and despair. It's awesome. The bosses are also incredibly difficult to fight against. Of course, everyone will have their favorites and most hated, but overall, learning their patterns and their ways is always a blast. Like the enemies, bosses will come in different sizes, some small and almost impossible to see, like the killer rabbit, I hate this guy, or taking up the whole screen like the Kraken. Some bosses can easily kill you with one hit if you try to punch above your weight. Dragon's Crown also has a couple of mounts for you to ride in the best Golden Axe style. You can find a saber-toothed tiger, which is incredibly strong, and a small dragon that can spit fireballs at your enemies, but differently from Golden Axe, they will arrive as enemies, hunting you down, but they will calm down after taking a couple of punches. But don't be too aggressive, because you can kill them like any normal enemy. Another cool thing here, and that's just a fun detail, is that you can fail some bosses and still escape the level without a game over screen. This will have some usefulness on your quests, but let's not spoil things here. I'm not sure where I read it or if someone told me, but it seems Dragon's Crown was a make or break situation for Vanillaware, and they clearly went all in. The game sold 800,000 copies in its first days and quickly beat the 1 million mark. I'm not sure how much it sold after these 10 plus years, but I'm sure the PS4 version boosted sales by a bit more. The success was so big that it even took Kamitani by surprise. The game has a stunning art style, great animation, and an amazing soundtrack and voice work. The combat is deep, the skill system is excellent, and the challenge can go as far as you wish. Sure, the game has its problems. The whole cursor idea to scout the backgrounds for treasure is awful, and sometimes, no matter what you do, you lose your character in the middle of so many special effects. Dragon's Crown is also a game that is not really inviting for those looking for an arcade fix. The game is long and it will take a while until you are powerful enough to beat the game by yourself. As I said, it's an RPG first and foremost, and I know a lot of you out there are not really fans of this style of beat-em ups. Having to beat the game 3 times to get the true ending is also something that will prevent most players from seeing it. It is also not on everything on this planet aside from the PlayStation, which is a crime against humanity. I don't like to say I have a favorite game. I mean, it's hard to have one because each game has that moment where it's perfect, so I always have a hard time naming them. But as they say, if I have to go to an island and take only one beat-em up, I believe this would be the one I would take with me. The perfect mix of gameplay styles here is something you won't find in any other game in the genre, and the amount of things to do is unmatched. If you never tried this game, I urge you to try it in any way you can, because even if you don't like the style, this is a piece of art that you should take a closer look at. Dragon's Crown may not be or become your favorite game, but I'm sure that you will be in awe with every second you spend in this fantastic world. If you've got until here in this video, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. This is the biggest video I've ever made for the channel, and I believe it shows how much I appreciate this game. I really hope you enjoyed this time with me. Tell me in the comments if this type of long format video is something that you would like to see for specific games here on the channel, and of course leave a like and subscribe to the channel because, as you know, it helps a lot. Again, thank you for watching, and other than that, I hope you all have an awesome day, and remember, keep beating up.